Hey everyone, so for my first video back, actual hockey video, I want to talk about who are the legitimate Stanley Cup contenders and who are not. So, like usual, breaking it into Conference East and West, I'm just going to go through each of the teams currently in a playoff position or teams that are out but I still think have a chance to make it. And I'm just going to talk about why they're a contender or why they're not. So first up, Pittsburgh. I think this is an obvious question. Pittsburgh is obviously a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. But I do have my worries with this team. This Pittsburgh team is not as good as the teams the past 2 years that won the Cup. I think they have some issues that are more glaring than the last couple of Pittsburgh teams have. I don't think they're as deep. I don't think they're as good in really any area. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to win the Cup again, but that certainly doesn't mean they're not a contender. They do have a chance to win it. I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think this team's as good, and that's that. They are a contender, but they're not my pick to win it. Washington, no. It's the Caps. Once again, they're having a fantastic regular season. This is how it's been for most of the past 10 years. They're probably going to win the Metro. They're 1 point behind Pittsburgh now. They do have a game in hand. I think Washington will win the division. And it will be another early exit for the Capitals from the playoffs. Like usual, we've grown very accustomed to this. I don't see any reason that it's going to change. You look at this team, Braden Holtby is overworked. He's starting to really struggle the last couple weeks. I don't think he'll be a problem come playoff times. I do think they need to get Grubauer in some games and get Holtby some rest before the playoffs start. But he's not going to be the problem, but they will collapse come playoff time. They will probably win in the first round. Looks like they're either going to play Philly as the 2-3 matchup, or if they win the division, probably New Jersey. They'll probably win their first round matchup, and then they'll meet Pittsburgh again in the second round, and that'll be that. See you later, Washington. So I do not think Washington's a legitimate Stanley Cup contender, just based on history, and they kind of have the same team that they've had the last few years there's not a lot of changes. Their defense is good, not great. Their offense is very top-heavy. They rely a lot on their top two lines to score, and after that, they don't have much going on. So I don't think Washington's going to win the Cup. Philadelphia. Oh, Philly. I absolutely was trashing on Philly back in December when they were on their 10-game losing streak. I thought they should blow it up. I thought they were done. They were going to end up in the bottom of the Metro, and that was going to be it. They completely turned their season around. They've been fantastic the last few months. Climbed all the way up into third place in the Metro, and really, brought their season back from the grave and turned it into a really good one for this team. I think, finishing, I had them as a borderline wild card team before the start of the season. Being in the top 3 spot in a division as tough as the Metro division is a really good season for Philly. So we'll see if they can stay there over the last, last month, I don't know exactly how many games they have left, probably 13, 14, somewhere around there. I don't think they're a Cup contender, though. I look at that team and I think they're a good team. Do they have the goaltending? I don't think so. Do they have the defense? I don't think so. Do they have the forward depth? I don't think so. I think Philly, at most, will win a round, and that's it. Hopefully they play Pittsburgh in the first round. That's the matchup I really want to see. It's Philly-Pittsburgh. It's one of the best rivalries in the NHL. Philly-Washington wouldn't be bad either, but I'd rather see them play Pittsburgh from an entertainment standpoint. That would be a fantastic first-round matchup, and one that Philly would almost definitely lose. So I don't see them as a cup contender, but they have had a very good season. Tampa Bay. Well, the answer for Tampa Bay is a resounding yes. They're my pick to win the Stanley Cup. They went all in for this season. They're just absolutely loaded up front. Their defense core is very deep and very good, and they added Ryan McDonough at the trade deadline. They are all in to win now, and really the next this year, next year, and the year after, they are really going for it, trying to win multiple cups. And I think this year they have a very, very good shot. I think they're the favorite. They should be the favorite, and they're my pick to win it. So they are absolutely a cup contender. The only issue with them is their Andrei Vasilevskiy. He's tired. He's played a lot this year. Overworking your goaltender seems to be an issue this season, where multiple teams have done it. We've seen it in Washington with Holtby. Tampa Bay's worked Vasilevskiy really hard. Toronto's worked Freddie Anderson really hard. I think teams really need to try and get the backup in more. And I know every game's important, but having a suitable backup is very important, because you cannot play your starting goaltender 70 games a year. They need to get rest, and they need to be fresh going into the playoffs. So Vasilevsky's a question mark when it comes to the playoffs, but I don't think he'll be a problem. He's been absolutely incredible this season. I see no reason why that should change in the postseason. So absolutely, Tampa Bay is a cup contender. Boston, my Bruins this year have really overachieved. They went in at the trade deadline. They got Rick Nash. They added some depth pieces in Tommy Wingels and Brian Giunta. And I really like this team. I really, really like this team. I don't think they're going to win the cup this year. I don't think they're there yet. I am going to say they're a contender, though, because they play Tampa Bay very well and they play Pittsburgh very well. And those are two teams that if you can get by, you're probably going to the cup, because Tampa Bay would probably be their second round matchup and Pittsburgh would be probably their conference final matchup. They play both those teams very well. They do not play Toronto well. They do not play Washington well. They're probably not going to see Washington, but Toronto's probably going to be their first round matchup. If they can get by Toronto, which I think they can, I think they're better than Toronto at this point, then it's really, who knows. I don't see them getting past Tampa, but they do play the Lightning well and have over the last few years. And you never know what can happen in the NHL. So Boston, I'm not banking on them winning, but I think they are a contender. Toronto, no. They are not a contender. Like I said, they've overworked Freddie Anderson. He's playing way too many games at this point, and that's going to hurt them come playoff time. To win a Stanley Cup, you have to win 4 best-of-7 series. That is a lot of hockey. That's a lot of very tough hockey in the playoffs. And you need your starting goalie to play every game, basically, come playoff time. So Anderson's already been worked too hard. I don't think he's going to last playing at a high level through 4 series. Toronto's defense also really stinks. From what I've seen from Toronto, their defense is not good at all, and they did almost nothing at the trade deadline. They brought in Thomas Plekanec, who is a good depth center who can certainly help them out down the middle. But they did nothing to address their defense. They don't have a true number 1. I mean, Morgan Riley is pretty good, but he doesn't have much help around him. They don't have an elite defenseman. They don't have a good real group. Their 1 through 6 is not very good on defense. So Toronto is not gonna make it to the Stanley Cup. They might win a round. They might be one and done. That's about it for them that I can see. New Jersey, no, not a contender. good, having a very good year, of huge bounce back from last season where they were not good at all, but not Stanley Cup ready yet. Columbus, we don't even know if Columbus is going to make the playoffs. They're in the last spot. They're in the last wild card spot right now, but Florida has, I think, 3 games in hand on them and only 2 points back. So Columbus, if they do get in, probably one and done. They're not a contender. Florida, I think Florida has a good chance of getting in just because of the games in hand, and they've really come on strong the second half of the season, but they're certainly not cup ready. If they get in, one and done for them. And then Carolina, I don't even think Carolina is going to make the playoffs. They still have a chance. They're only a few points out, but I don't even see them getting in. If they do happen to slide into that last wild card spot, they'll be out really fast. So they're certainly not. Those 3, Columbus, Florida, and Carolina, are definitely not cup teams this season. Heading out west, Nashville. Absolutely, they are. I think they should be the favorite from the West to make the Cup Finals. They're on an absolute tear right now, which kind of worries me a little bit. They might be peaking too early, but they've really had a good season, coming off of making it to the Cup Finals and losing last year. They've been really, really solid this year all the way through. They've really come on of late, and they certainly could win the Stanley Cup. I mean, it's tough to go back to go to the finals 2 years in a row. That's a lot of hockey to play. That's a lot of playoff hockey to play. But we've seen now Pittsburgh's won the Cup twice in a row. I see no reason to think that Nashville can't make it to the finals again. So they're a very good team. I just hope they're not peaking too soon. The last few weeks they've been absolutely on fire. That could come back to bite them if in a month from now they start to go the other way and you got yourself a first-round upset in the playoffs. But I don't see that happening. This is a good veteran group. Largely the same team that went to the finals last year, so they know how to win. I don't see that happening with them. Winnipeg, man, they're having a great season. I'm very happy to see Winnipeg finally performing at a level that they should. They've got a ton of young talent, really great offense. I don't see them making it. I don't really see them as a team that's going to go all the way to the Cup. I just don't. I think they're a little too loose defensively. I don't trust their goaltending over the course of 4 best-of-7 series. Connor Hellebuck's really come on this season, but this is kind of a one-off for him. Like, he hasn't been that spectacular of a goaltender in his career. He's been solid, but he hasn't been elite, and now this year he's just playing out of his mind. Can he carry that all the way through the playoffs? Who knows? Maybe not, and then Winnipeg's in trouble. I think that they're a very good team. I don't see them making it to the finals. I think that they might win a round. They could be out in the first round, but they might win a round, and then they'd probably have to play Nashville, and that would be the end of that. At least that's what I think. Minnesota, no. They're very similar to Winnipeg, not in the style of play or anything, but they're similar in the fact that very good team. I don't see the it factor there of a cup team. I think they're certainly a playoff team, but they're not a cup team. Vegas, this is ridiculous that I'm even talking about Vegas in this light, but they're certainly going to win the Pacific Division, and they might win the Western Conference, although it looks like Nashville's probably going to do that now. I have no idea what to say about Vegas, because going into this year, I and most other people thought they were going to finish dead last in the league. No, it turns out they're one of the best teams in the league, with really a bunch of throwaway players that teams were willing to get rid of, and they just fit together perfectly. Now, you get to the playoffs, and everything resets. It's a whole new season. It's a whole new style of hockey. Much more physical, much more intense. I don't know how Vegas is going to perform in that situation because we've never seen this group of players in that situation before. So based on lack of experience, I'm going to say they're not a cup contender, but I might be dead wrong about that because they do have a cup winning goalie. Marc-Andre Fleury is an elite NHL goalie, and he could carry them there, but I don't know if they're going to be able to play that high-intensity playoff-style hockey and win 3 or 4 series to make it to or win the Stanley Cup. So I'm saying it's very unlikely that Vegas is going to go that far in the playoffs, but they've proven everyone wrong so far, so why not keep doing it? San Jose, no. I don't think San Jose is a cup contender. They're a good team, but they're not a great team. I think they're lacking depth up front. I like their top 6 defensemen are pretty good, but once you get after their 6 that play every night, it's kind of eh. Admittedly, I haven't seen the Sharks play a ton this year, but when I look at that team, I see they're similar to Minnesota and Winnipeg. I see very good team, playoff team, not a cup winning team. Anaheim. I'm going to say dark horse, yes. Very disappointing regular season. The first half of their season was just destroyed by injuries, but they've pulled themselves up in the standings as the season has gone on. And they're always a dangerous team come playoff time. A very veteran team, a team that's always in the playoffs and knows how to win and make it deep into the playoffs. If there's a team that's going to come out of nowhere and make a deep run, like Cup Finals type run, my pick would be Anaheim. Obviously not the regular season that they wanted, but it really doesn't matter how you do in the regular season when you have a veteran, highly skilled and team like that knows how to win. All you have to do is make the show, and at this point it looks like they're going to make the show. They're pretty handily in a playoff spot. They've at least got a few games, a few points worth of games, or a few games worth of points cushion over the wild card teams. So Anaheim, I think I think they're a contender to be a out of nowhere dark horse team to make it to the cup, maybe even win it. Dallas, I don't really know what to say about Dallas. I still have questions about their goaltending. Ben Bishop's had injury problems throughout his career, really, but they've persisted this year. If Kari Lettonen's in net, Dallas is probably one and done in the playoffs. They do have a high-powered offense, though, that can score a ton of goals, which could lead to a deep run. If Ben Bishop is in net and plays well, then you've got a chance. I would say, I don't see cup on this team. I see good team, not cup. Similar with the LA Kings, I see good team, not cup, and that's even if they make the playoffs. The bottom of the West is really wild. The bottom playoff spots, no one cares about Arizona, Edmonton, and that trash down there. But we really don't know who's going to make it into those bottom spots in the West. You've got a bunch of teams still in it. You've got Dallas, LA, Colorado, Calgary, and St. Louis kind of still in it. But so these teams are really just fighting for their lives at this point. I don't see any of them being cup contenders if they do get in. St. Louis I don't think gets in. They've completely collapsed after an incredible start. When I was talking earlier in the year about teams that I think could definitely win the Stanley Cup, St. Louis was near the top of the list, and they've completely fell apart this season. So St. Louis I don't think gets in. Calgary I don't think gets in. Colorado and LA, it's really going to come down to those two for that last wild card spot. I think LA probably gets in, although Colorado's had a nice bounce back from the atrocious season they had last year. But I don't think any of those bottom, bottom teams with a chance to make the playoffs are real cup contenders if they get in. So, The teams I think do have a chance to win the Stanley Cup are Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, Boston, Nashville, and Anaheim. I think the Cup goes to the East again this year. I don't think it's Pittsburgh this time. I think it's whoever comes out of that Boston-Tampa Bay probable second-round matchup. Nashville also has a very good chance if they can not collapse after being hot too early. That's the only thing I'm worried about with them, is that they're on fire right now. If that goes the other way come playoff time, that could be an issue. And then Anaheim's my dark horse, could come out of nowhere and win. Probably not going to happen, but it is possible. But Tampa Bay, certainly my pick right now. So that's who I think the real contenders are. I know this was a pretty long video, but I want to go through all the teams that are either in the playoffs or still have a shot to make it. We'll see what happens. That's all you can do. This is literally just me talking from what I've seen this season. But the playoffs are a whole new season. No one has any clue what's really going to happen, and we'll have to wait and see. That's what makes the NHL so great, is that the playoffs, everything just resets, and you really don't know what's going to happen. There's really, who knows? So thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow Off the Wall Hockey on social media. Links in the description. Thanks so much for watching again, and talk to you guys soon.